Did you guys like the Flintstones?
I did.
Yes.
I loved the Flintstones. I loved the Jetsons.
Not at all.
I like the Flintstones.
All that Hanna-Barbera shit. You know,
well, were you watching it as a child or as a grown-up?
As a child. I hated.
Just want to clarify.
No. I hated.
Did you like watching it, but like you didn't love it? Or?
No. You don't really understand what you're saying.
I agree.
No, I hated Scooby-Doo.
I love Scooby-Doo.
All that
I love
bullshit.
Scooby-Doo.
All that conveyor belt cartoon shit. It was like I felt like it's funny because even when I was a kid, I knew like shows like Scooby-Doo would never go outside of its comfort zone. Do you know what I mean? Like it was always kind of like, okay, look for this here.
Pull the mask.
But then I would watch Looney Tunes, and it was like they would go crazy. And only now that I'm older do I know, oh, well, those were done by real cartoonists, and this Hanna-Barbera stuff was conveyor belt manufactured basically. But that being said, some of the early Hanna-Barberas were not quite like that, and they were pretty good.
I don't think
some of the early Yogi Bear and even early beginning Flintstones was.
I'm just gonna say Hanna-Barbera is its own style.
Yes,
and yeah, there are shitty. They're just shitty cartoons from the 70s, and they all have the same kind of like not trying too hard look, but that's charming to me.
I think
I'm nostalgic for it.
I liked Looney Tunes and like Warner Brothers stuff
Yeah.
more. But when I was a kid, I just watched everything that was on TV that was animation.
Sure.
I had old cassettes of like Betty Boop and Heckle and Jekyll and like black and white cartoons.
I didn't like all Hanna-Barbera, but I did like the Flintstones, the Jetsons, and Scooby-Doo.
Well, I feel like there was
three,
like the 60s Hanna-Barbera, which is like, like Yogi Bear and all that stuff. And when we got to the 70s, things got real fucking weird with Jabberjaw.
Yes, that's when all that stuff started.
I think Eric likes all that
Josie
shit.
and the Pussycats.
I don't like Jabberjaw. I do like Josie and the Pussycats.
Tomcat.
They go to space.
All that stuff. It's like this.
I was gonna say. Now, what's funny is, I agree that era of cartoons. It's like fucking whack.
They started doing fucking acid.
But I will say I do ironically kind of love a few shows from that time that were on the fringe of it, like Hong Kong Phooey and I could get into that. I did Josie and the Pussycats to a degree.
Who was that gay panther that said exit
Snagglepuss.
Snagglepuss.
Yeah.
Great character.
Stuff like that.
Pepe Le Pew.
I like Pepe Le Pew.
Definitely not a Hanna-Barbera creation.
Bugs Bunny.
But I didn't like them.
Mickey Mouse.
Yeah,
Martian.
See, I didn't. You know what?
Homer Simpson.
I didn't really like Disney animation.
Really?
No. Disney Channel when I was a kid was a paid for thing, so we didn't have
That's true.
And I didn't really, I would watch like Lion King and Little Mermaid and stuff when they came out. But really, other than that, I wasn't into Disney animation. So
the Disney animated shorts when I was a kid were well animated and stuff like that. But as a kid, I remember I would be like, just give me Looney Tunes. Because those would go really all out.
And then later on, I think before Cartoon Network existed, it was like Tiny Toon Adventures and all the stuff that would come up on Fox.
Yeah,
I think Steven Spielberg was a producer on that show.
On Tiny Toons?
What about
Tiny Toons.
he was.
What was Yakko Animaniacs?
Yeah,
was a
Spielberg
big
was
one,
on
too.
that too. Yeah.
That was a big one for me. And then when like Cartoon Network came out, it was started getting into the independent.
I remember
guys,
my dad sitting me down and saying, "Hey, they're having a network now. It's only cartoons."
Dude, my dad did the exact same thing.
Hey, I was just gonna say, my dad did that too.
That's crazy.
Whoa. And I remember being like, "What?" Like it was like the best thing ever.
I think it's because all of our dads knew, like, you know what? They like cartoons. I liked cartoons when I was a kid too. This would have been awesome.
Yeah, and I think your dad just wanted to make sure, hey, there's a channel that's going to occupy you 24 hours a day.
So sit down and shut
Are
the
you
fuck
aware of it? Hey, I'm trying to do something and you keep talking to me. You know there's a channel full of cartoons, right?
Well,
cartoons on right now.
It was a long time. My dad told me about it, and it was like a year before we got it on our cable provider.
Oh, okay.
And I remember my dad constantly giving me updates on like, hey, I hear Cox Cable might add Cartoon Network soon. I'm hearing. And then finally there was one day it was like, hey,
it's coming.
Channel 50, check it out. And it was like, you're
Channel
kidding
50.
me. Yeah. Oh my God. And it was on, and it was Down with Droopy D. It was a block
Holy
of Droopy
shit.
cartoons.
Oh yeah,
Which I loved.
I remember Top Cat was the first thing I saw on that channel.
Yeah.
The Down with
Top Cat was
Droopy D
okay.
bumpers, weren't they like remixed animation?
It's Down with Droopy D.
Yeah. Fuck yeah. Okay, that's cool.
It was that, and I remember before Cartoon Network, I had not seen the old Screwy Squirrel cartoons. Do you remember that?
I don't think I've seen.
By the makers of Droopy, it is a character, Screwy Squirrel, and they were kind of a little more, like I say, edgy, but it was more like he would do more stupid stuff. They were old cartoons.
Oh,
but
was just like a moron.
Yeah, and they would kind of push the envelope a little bit more. And I remember specifically there's an episode where he is friends with a giant bulldog and is trying to get away from him, but finally at the end, I'm remembering this, I know, pretty patchy, but he says, all right, fine, I'll be friends with you. And the bulldog goes, thanks! And he grabs Screwy Squirrel and turns around to hug him, and you just hear, oh, guess I need another friend. Like he crushed him to death, and it was just the end. Oh, wow. And then I read years later, it's like, yeah, they did not air that again. Like he gets completely
that's
maimed.
like the one time I saw Tom and Jerry. Which one's the cat? And the mouse killed
Cat.
The cat killed the mouse.
Yeah.
And that was the end. And I told my friends at school, and no one believed me. And then
Tom killed Jerry?
Yeah.
In one episode.
There's one episode I saw it, and none of my friends believed me that this happened. And
there's also one episode where Tom talks, I think.
Yeah, I think so.
He says something at the very end.
I like when they have a mammy character. Have you ever seen that?
Yeah.
Where there's like a very
housemaid,
stereotypically racist housemaid that
you
always
know,
interacts
some of those
with
who have
like
aired,
that.
some of those that have aired since, like every now and then they'll still air some of those.
But it's an
some of them have been
interesting
re-recorded.
Really?
Yeah.
The voice has been redone.
Yeah. They were put on DVD. They were actually put on Blu-ray, but in their regular form, and they were introduced. You know, I think it was like Leonard Maltin was like,
the world is better.
Hey, these are
that way.
Eric, I'd like to rephrase.
The world is better.
I don't like that.
Sorry, as discussed earlier, this is Raw. So
go for it. The world's better.
It is.
I wish we could go back and re-record every offensive thing that's ever been recorded.
Yeah.
Ever.
Wow.
Everything in the history books that's offensive, redo it.
That's a good idea. We'll just re-record it every few years when we deem new things offensive.
Christopher Columbus came over here and gave money to all the Native Americans and back rubs.
We gave them gold.
We bought the land legally, and then they said, all we want is this little, we're going to reserve this part for ourselves. That's why it's called a reservation. And it was nice, and it was just better. So tell your kids the truth.
No one was hungry.
It really happened.
Blankets were clean. It's a whole different
Jesus,
thing.
He's like, you know what? I'm going to go up on that cross. I want to. Do what you got to do. I'm keeping it positive.
He was sick of living.
Yeah.
And he wanted to die for our sins.
In fact, he probably just went up on the cross is more like a stage made out of wood. He had a couple turntables up there.
He did a show.
He spun a couple records. And he's like, I'm out. Ascended to heaven.
Yeah.
That's nicer. Anyways.
No cave with a door.
That's fine, right? We can say that.
Just
a
re-record.
We can do that. Checking.
Yeah.
It's raw audio, man. It's there.
It's raw. Oh, it's raw.
Whatever happens, happens.
What is said is said.
It's just a nicer version of the same story.
Yeah.
Cool.
Essentially, it's the same.
Let's talk about real quick.
What? Yu-Gi-Oh?
What happened?
No.
Okay, we won't talk about Yu-Gi-Oh.
I was gonna stay on the subject of Jesus Christ.
Okay.
Oh.
We can't talk about Yu-Gi-Oh.
He's kind of like the ultimate Yu-Gi-Oh master.
Yeah. If he was here,
Okay.
he'd fuck us up in Yu-Gi-Oh. But I was gonna say,